Hi guys, welcome back to another Steam playthrough. I'm just going to do my introduction before I start the game because it kind of launches right into it. Marcin Burkowski, I hope I pronounced his name right, or close at least, reached out to me to play his game. It's not out yet. I'll give you a link to the page if you want to wishlist and try it for yourself. Alright guys, so it's really neat, but I could not beat it. Just a disclaimer at the start. I'm going to show you how far I got. Hopefully it's helpful to somebody. But man, it's like a detective kind of game. And I am not a detective at all. Like, you have to like comb through things and figure this out. And I could tell like some people that love to figure things out will love this game, but I'm not that person. I'm somebody that just plays the game. Whatever's in the game, I'll try to figure it out, but I can't go too deep into like, or just like pick something out of without having like a script of what I'm supposed to be looking for. But it was really neat, and I think you guys, somebody will definitely enjoy this game. I'm just not that person. But hopefully with how far I got will be helpful. Like, even the first file, I had to get help from the creator to figure it out. Like, I was struggling so hard with this. But I really love the story. There's a little diary, and I went through it, read it all. So if you want to listen to the story before whatever happened, you can watch this as well. But, alright guys, good luck with this one if you decide to play it. But you'll see it goes like right into it. It's quick. Speedy boy. Alright, how do I open my phone? Go phone,
Cześć
go!
pracy. Co tam?
A witam pana inspektora. A co tutaj? A to ja zaraz pokażę. No, Maciuś, przywitaj się z panem inspektorem. No, to tak. Dzisiaj jest 6 czerwca, nie? To gdzieś pod koniec maja ktoś tutaj podobno widział, że może ktoś komuś jakąś krzywdę zrobił czy coś. I ktoś na górze sobie wymyślił, że my mamy dojść, o co chodzi, nie? No to dochodzimy. Tydzień minął. Była akurat wolna ekipa z psem, to przyjechał ten wysoki Wojtek z psem, Kubą. To ten Kuba najpierw full pro pobiegał, powąchał, a potem ziewnął, obszał tutaj ten wiadukt, uwalił się jajkami do góry, żeby go po brzuchu podrapać. Tam zaraz po tamtej stronie jest przystanek autobusowy. Tutaj codziennie setka ludzi chodzi na skróty do domów. 3 dni temu padało całą noc. Wczoraj padało. To co on miał znaleźć? Co on mógł wywąchać? Tyle, że się przewietrzył. My się też wietrzymy. Tutaj ustalić coś mądrego to jest trudno. Ale dobre miejsce jest na relaks. Tubylcy wiedzą. Tam leży paczka po chipsach, jakaś butelka po piwie, nie? Tam gdzieś dalej jakąś prezerwatywę po ruchaniu widziałem, nie? Maciuś znalazł jakiegoś pendrive'a, to może być jedyna rzecz, to jakaś tutaj nie na miejscu. To jak zdejmę odciski, to wyślę chłopakom do komputerowego.
There it is, boys.
I tyle.
I don't know if I said the game name. It's the USB found in the grass, I believe, is what it's called. But that dog sounded like a straight baller. Now you are on your own, using Windows File Explorer. Navigate to the newly attached drive to investigate. Alrighty then. Let me look up the name just to make sure I said it right. USB stick found in the grass is the name of the game. Alright, where is it at? Really don't like going through my files, but I'll do it. I'll do it! Is it the... No, that's mine. Is it this? Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, it's like, I haven't played a game with like a little video in it before. It's like one of those old school games. Other. Empty. Okay, sick. Books? Okay, great. Moby, EPUB. I don't know if I can open these. Dear Diary. Ah, there we go. I can unzip these. Easy. Unzip. Now I'm not gonna have any game music. I'll put it in. I'll put my own music in. Alright, unzip this sucker. Yeah. Press zip folders was unable to create the specific... Dude. Oh no. Back here? Boom. I think we can't do it. You bastard. Dear Diary, 2018-05. I guess is what we're doing. May 1st, 2018. Actually, let me look at the first file first, because I don't want to make... Let's pick. Pictures. Let's look at the pictures first, and then we'll read it. We got some nice lavender-looking flowers. Dude with his wife that has a pretty sick tattoo on her back. Kitty cat. Dog sniffed around, pissed, and then laid balls up. What a homie. 13... Is that Chinese? That looks like Chinese. But I could be wrong. old-timey pictures. Dandelions? Those dandelions? I don't know. Weird flowers. It looks super cool, that little pathway. Wonder what's back there. Then we got the bridge with some train tracks for some reason. Train track looking things. And a really angry looking bird. Look at them lips, son. Disgruntled boy. I like him. Oh, he is sleepy boy. Oh, look at that butterfly. Cool. Alright. Alright, I guess we're at the end of our pictures. Alright. Pictures completed. May 1st, 2018, Tuesday. Dear Diary, I decided to write in English because I wouldn't understand anything else, so that it doesn't get rusty, even if this means repeating my own mistakes. It's not the best idea to start May with the death of your laptop, is it? I turned Asus on in the morning. The hard drive made a strange noise. The login screen appeared, and then BAM! The blue screen of death. Oh no. And now it's just dark when I turn it on. And it won't even let me load defaults. This is bad. I hate typing on my PC keyboard. My old ThinkPad has Windows XP. B has no battery connection, so I depend on the nearest electrical socket, and C, which is worse, the worst, has no Wi-Fi connection. I've lost the USB adapter somewhere, so I can't go online, which means no internet and no access to the PC hard drive. I don't even have an Ethernet cable to connect it to the LAN adapter. That sucks, bro. You should always have an Ethernet cable, son. I guess I'll be using an extension cord to write in bed. And I'll be storing my diary on a USB stick so that I can access it wherever I want. There's a good side to that. I was actually planning to start writing my diary by months. So, the fact that this fuck up happened today is quite convenient. I'll just start a new file. Ah, smart boy. The heat and sun were brutal this morning. Then it grew humid, but still, I managed to spend half a day in the garden, mowing the lawn, raking and weeding. I don't plant anything new. I only tend to the plants left by my mom. Are those the flowers? As a small tribute to her memory. She liked gardening very much. I remember she enjoyed working in the garden, showing everyone where she planted what and why in that spot exactly. But I've never had the heart for it. I see it as my duty now that she's gone. I have no idea what the neighbors' kids were planning, but they were running up and down the street with their faces painted white, making a lot of noise. Sounds weird. I guess it's time I stopped putting off going through my grandparents' stuff and documents. I've wanted to do it for 2 years now, but I was afraid that I would start crying when I found the old photos from the summer holidays in Zelazina, however you pronounce that. But I can feel something changed. I'm not afraid anymore. If I cry, I'll cry. It won't be the first time or the last time. It's the next stage of grief, I suppose. But I have no psychologist on hand to confirm that. Today is Dad's birthday. In September, it'll be 3 years since he passed away. I went to Wawersal Cemetery to light a candle for him. Then I went for a stroll past our old flat. When I looked at the windows, I felt a wave of nostalgia sweep over me. Maybe I should visit Mom's grave family in Gerstschau sometime. I haven't been there for 20 years or so. And Carol? I wonder what's going on with him these days. I still haven't made any plans for the summer holidays. If I'm going to go somewhere in September or October, I should start looking for deals now. I've saved PLN 7K, and that's almost 2K, and I can spend it all I want to. So it's like $2,000, whatever I guess it's Polish money? I don't know what it is, so. I went to the kitchen to make myself some supper, and I stepped in the middle of an argument. The girls didn't go away for the long weekend. Both of them were working. Beta accused Aga of stealing her mug, because if the mug is nowhere to be found, this is a 25-page document, doc. Because if the mug is nowhere to be found, it means it was stolen, right? Common shelf. I think I must have put it there myself when I was doing the dishes after breakfast, but didn't say anything. May 2nd, 2018, Wednesday. Oh wait, you guys can't even see what I'm reading. Give me a second. Boom. Oh, no. I'm not rereading that, but I'm gonna show you the picture. which the part I just read is the first page here. I have more to read. A lot more to read because it's 25 pages. Oh, the essence of a miracle. Its miraculousness, is that even a word? I was wiping the green mug after breakfast. It slipped from my hand. I dropped it on the floor. It bounced several times, but it didn't break. No cracks, no nothing, which is good, as it was a souvenir from my first trip to Venice. It would be a huge loss. I had my ASUS checked. They told me the hard drive was okay. Luckily, there's nothing important on it. Apart from the diary from the last 2 weeks, I've been making regular backups since the major fuck up. I didn't feel that. But they couldn't tell the cause of the failure on the spot, so I had to leave it there. They asked me to call them later. On my way home, I brought some groceries, and then a car scared the hell out of me. As I was walking towards the intersection, some car started very rapidly and loudly. I jumped up so fast my grocery bag ripped. That sucked. It made me think about how my mom hated cars. Beginning of May is incredible this year. It was a bit colder today, but it was still a nice day. Lilac is blooming like crazy. I was a lilac. And I saw some butterflies today. Let me check Wikipedia for their English names. 1 orange tip and 2 swallowtails. They flew away before I could take a picture, so I just shot some forget-me-nots growing near the ditch. The photo is a bit underexposed. I wonder why. I got the plant identification reference guide by Broda and Salkis back. I've been looking for it a few months now. Not that I needed it. There was just a nasty gap left after it on the bookshelf, and today Betta comes to my bedroom and hands it to me, asking me if it's mine. And I remember us talking 6 months ago about some flowers blooming near her parents' house in the country. She really wanted to see the book, though I suggested it would be better to browse through some photo guide, but Betta is stubborn, and once she gets something stuck in her head, you can't make her change her mind. In the evening, she started another argument. This time it was about some stupid toothpaste. I spent 3 hours on Duolingo. That's a cool name. May 3rd, 2018, Thursday, 29 feet, 38 inches? Weird. It's not true that all rules should be broken. The fundamental one, saying that you shouldn't touch shit because it stinks, backfired today like Pepsi and Mentos. A long time ago, I put boxes with my grandparents' stuff on the high rack in the garage. I don't remember how I got them there. Someone must have helped me. Now I couldn't get up there myself, so I went to ask my old neighbor, Danusia, if they would lend me their ladder. Once I was up the ladder and took the boxes with the photos and letters down, I decided to check the contents of the remaining boxes, put on the rack long time ago by Dad. It turned out to be a Pandora's box. There were loads of bugs with old stuff. They must have been sitting there since my parents moved in about 20 years ago. I started to take it all out, and I found some old hide rugs, lace works, shirts, tablecloths, wool table runners. I remember from our old apartment at Neruda Street, my mom's old fox fur scarf, fur gloves, a total mess, all of it. They were once packed clean and tidy, but clothing moths found a way inside, and now everything was crumbling to dust and ashes at the touch. So, what I thought would take a few minutes of my time took me half a day of tidying up. And just as I was about to finish, it turned out there was some glass in the bag on the back of the rack. And as I was taking it down, the bag ripped, and there was broken glass all over the floor. Miss Meow, aw, the kitty cat, cut her paw because she couldn't miss the opportunity to visit the open garage. Then I cut my foot because why the fuck not? True. Oh man, we got 22 pages. That's long. And now I can't even turn the ladder because Danusia and her husband aren't home. I checked 3 times. It's so hot and humid today. Thank God it's still not that warm in the house. Still chilly in the north-facing rooms. It must be as hot as hell in Aga's room. Aga invited some guy over. The moment I heard his voice, I thought I was hearing Grandpa. It was so similar. As Aga went into the kitchen to make some tea, I came in to remind her that we agreed she'd inform me in advance about wanting to invite guys over. She started laughing and said it was nothing of the kind, because he was her cousin. I guess she's telling the truth. When he came to the kitchen and the 3 of us talked for a bit, it seemed like they've known each other well, and there was no sexual energy between them. Betta came to the kitchen to say hi, but suddenly her face went as white as death and made a U-turn and left. I went to the theater with Isa and Powell this evening. I wanted to give them money for their ticket, but they told me they got it for free somewhere. I don't believe them. I'll have to throw a barbecue party and have them come over. Christina Jonda turned Brawl's Notes from Exile into a monodrama. It really hit me. But at the same time, I feel it was unbalanced. It was supposed to be about the immigration, or should I say eviction, of Jews from Poland in 1968. But it looks like on the way someone decided that it wasn't enough. And they added some Holocaust themes to strengthen the message. The message sure is strong, especially with the footage of nationalist march in Warsaw at the end. But for me, it just made the whole performance too pushy. But maybe it's how it should be. Maybe people should be hit on their heads with hammers to see what is really going on. And there are things to be worried about. It's not good. I try not to follow politics. I just happened to come across some news in the papers on the radio while driving. But that's enough for me to feel things are moving in a dangerous direction. When the show was over, the Association of Jewish Veterans of World War II awarded Jonda a medal commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. We left the theater and went to a coffee place. It's only the beginning of May, but it was so nice outside. It was so nice we sat outside by 11 p.m. I remember I had to wear a fleece jacket on July evenings last year. Now it was only May, and I wasn't cold in a lightweight top. We were mainly discussing the performance. For me, it was still very much valid, as I'm currently reading Tellum's biography in the interwar times. How he was attacked verbally. Sometimes I feel like today's newspaper copies and pastes the contents of political propaganda, gutter press of that time. The times are different today, I know, but the language, the mindset, and hatred are just the same. Today's responses of the alt-right against their critique are very similar to the National Democrats' responses to Tellum's poems. But the march of the nationalists planned for yesterday was somehow blocked and didn't take place. That's probably a coincidence, but I see it as the light at the end of the tunnel. Izza and Powell gave me a lift home. I was back in no time. Ex-Confessions Volume 1, the best. To the next ones, not so much. May 4th, 2018, Friday. I gotta get a drink. I'll be right back. Alright, let's continue. Nice weather in the morning. I replanted some potted flowers. I'll have to buy some soil. I'm almost out of it. There are 6 family photo albums. I flipped through them quickly. There are almost no photos from my grandparents' youth, but I guess it's understandable. Nobody had a camera in the village where Grandma lived. And my great-grandparents' house in Ochata district was on fire twice. First in September 1939 and then during the Warsaw Uprising. There are some more photos from after the war, but a real surge starts in the 1960s when my dad gets his own camera for Christmas. There are several photos from Grandpa's contractor trips overseas. I haven't seen any photos from Libya, and that's the only trip I remember from my childhood. And I found the photos from Zelazitna, of course, and I cried, of course. How could I not? They must have been taken on Sunday, maybe Saturday, because I remember my parents and Carol coming to see us, or Carl, I don't know how it's pronounced. They arrived in the morning and stayed till the evening. On Tuesday night, Grandma yelled at me. Aw, dang. On Wednesday morning, we were on our way to Warsaw. On Thursday night, Grandpa was dead. Excuse me. Quite a 3 days in the life of a 12-year-old. That sucks, dude. But although I cried over the photos, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. There are some blank spaces in 2 albums. Looks like some photos were removed. What happened? Did someone do something evil enough to be erased? I guess it could have been Grandma's doing. One time I saw her write down her contacts in a new notebook. She would skip some old friends if they deserved it. But she would keep on writing down the telephone numbers of her best friend Helena, with whom she came to Warsaw after the war. Even though Helena left Poland in 1969, in the aftermath of the anti-Semitic movement, I called the computer repair people. They haven't found anything yet. The house stinks terribly because I cooked some pork kidneys. That's the charm of simplicity. I had them with buckwheat groats. Yum. What's a groat? Oats? Oats groats. I finally saw Danusia through the window. I took the ladder out of the garage, but I saw her talking to someone getting inside a car. I wanted to back out, but she almost dragged me to her backyard with that freaking ladder. Then she introduced me to the man. I think his name is Jasek, or Jats. I don't know. I said I've seen him around. She smiled sadly, and the man suddenly huffed and drove off. When we were alone, Danusia told me that she has 2 older brothers, twins to be exact, who do not speak to each other, but both of them visit her regularly. The one I saw today supports the right PIS party. The other one is a leftist, although he cannot decide which party to support, Regime or SLD. In the evening, I took the dancing lessons for the advanced in age from the shelf and started reading it from a random page, as it doesn't really matter where you start off. Pure gold. May 5th, 2018, Saturday. Geez, Ewa's birthday is in a week. It kind of slipped my mind. I talked to Dorota. She's already bought her a gift. We talked about it some time ago. I need to give her PLN 52 back, whatever that is. It's quite funny that an expense of PLN 52 leaves a gap in my budget now. Oh, that's the Polish currency, I guess. Nothing to worry about, but I need to make sure there will be no more gaps this month. Within 2 years, I have transformed from a person spending PLN 6K in a month easily to a person able to live for under PLN 1.5K a month. Good job, man. And I don't miss those days. I guess I was killing stress by spending money on stupid things. I have no such urges now, pure pragmatism only. Good job, dude. I took the car and went to Greffler to do major shopping. I should have done that yesterday, because I hate shopping on Saturdays. But those plotted plans kept me busy in the morning, and then I was just too lazy to go. Thank God the supermarket wasn't too crowded at 9 a.m. I bought some sauerkraut, but I had to throw it out. I almost puked when I tasted it. It smelled horribly, and it was gross. Ew. Even thinking of it makes me gag. Sauerkraut makes me gag too, homie. Betta came to talk. She claims that the guy Aga invited the other day tried to rape her last fall. What the fuck? I remember this story. Betta got a gym pass as a gift. We went to the gym, and then she came back frightened and scratched up. She said someone was trying to pick her up. Then she started to follow her. He even tried to undress her in some bushes. The whole story was as chaotic as Betta herself. No specifics whatsoever. But she didn't want to talk to the police. I asked her what she wanted to do about it. To talk to Aga about it, or if she wanted to talk to... what she wanted to do about it. To talk to Aga about it, or if she wanted me to talk to Aga about it. Got it. Oh, I'm struggling with that. But she just hissed and asked me how I could have thought of something like that. This is so strange. I have some problems downloading photos from my cell phone to the PC. While downloading them to my obsolete While downloading them to my obsolete laptop goes smoothly, but the stupid laptop can't download the photos from the camera. It keeps on crashing. I have to launch the task manager and kill the process. I could transfer the photos directly from a memory card. This is exactly what I bought the adapter in the first place. But it's so inconvenient, and there's no Wi-Fi, so I have to fiddle with the damn photos each time. At the same time, the laptop hard drive is ridiculously small, so downloading photos from the camera makes no sense. Better to download them to the PC and then move the ones I need to the USB stick. I sold a copy of The Master and Margarita on Allegro today. I still have 2 copies left. One of them has always been on the shelf at my parents' house, and the other I got from Grandma years ago. So I'm attached to it. I guess both will stay with me. May 6, 2018, Sunday. Maybe this month will be nice to me after all. Isa called me to tell me that a job is looking for me. A friend of a friend owns a huge archive, few thousand negatives, and he wants them all cleaned and scanned. I agreed to meet him on Tuesday. Isa told me that they are finishing work on a comic book drawn by Powell's friend Zurkowski is involved in the process, which reminds me that he still hasn't given me everything back. We joke that I'm the only person she knows who went off the grid and moved to the Bieszczady Mountains without actually leaving Warsaw. Technically, she was wrong. My parents' house is in Marki, not Warsaw. I laughed with her, but also cried a bit inside, as at the moment I realized the price I had to pay for that. It suddenly occurred to me that arranging the old stuff, documents, photos, cleaning, gardening, all the things I didn't have time for before, was actually just ersatz activities. I come up with the feel like something is happening. I guess you don't have to stare into the abyss to lose your mind. It's sufficient to look at nothing, long enough to happen. Long enough some events, evenings it gets to my mind. I keep busy not to feel the boredom. Please let something happen, not too much, something, anything. Fuck it all, throw it all away, just like that. Take the camera, 2 pairs of knickers, leave the house, get on a random train, and go to the end of the world. Somewhere near Nepal or Morocco. I don't care. Quick reality check. Who's going to feed Miss Meow? An attempt at adulting. Won't run away from myself. Gosh, I'm acting like a 12-year-old. Fuck. Kids are so lucky. They can always run to mommy or at least curl up in the fetal position and suck their thumb. After dinner, I went out with the trash and came across Danusia. She was watering the garden. I came to the fence to chat with her, but she clearly wanted more. She told me the whole story of her brothers. Danusia is the youngest. The twins were born a few years before her. Both of them are engineers. One specializes in railway engineering, the other in energy engineering. Both of them are engineers. I just got that. Energy engineering, they used to be inseparable as children, but when they both applied to a technical university in the deep socialist mid-70s, they were accepted to different majors and they parted ways. It so happened that one of them became friends with the legal political opposition as it existed at the time. Workers' Socialist Union, I read it wrong. Workers' Defense Committee or something like that. Very Catholic branch. And the other one joined the Socialist Union of Polish Students. But both did it for the right cause, Danusia said. They both wanted to fight social justice, but one of them wanted to do it from within the system and the other one was sure that was impossible. I'm not 100% sure, it was just like I wrote it down. Though, as Danusia's story was pretty chaotic, and then her husband came back and interrupted her, and the rest of the conversation was about cars and problems with cars. I could see Danusia is deeply moved by this whole situation. And then I remembered Mom mentioning twins who weren't speaking to each other. She must have known their story because Danusia was a friend of hers. I've just finished reading Tuom's biography, a gloomy read, and it made me revisit his poems. Many are still relevant today, maybe even more relevant than less than 20 years ago. Horrible dwellers keep on horrifying. The ball at the opera goes on at its frenzied pace. I keep missing words for some reason. And if you dare to speak up, you're a scabby Jew. And the language of the ball in the opera is as alive as it used to be in Tuom's times. Unbelievable. May 7th, 2018, Monday, 34 feet, 38 inches. Or these are probably meters, actually, I don't know how they measure. Yeah, I didn't quite nail it today. My time was okay, but it could have been much better. I don't even know if this is a measurement. I enjoyed jogging today until I reached the footbridge. Some dogs started jumping on me, and I had to stop. The dog's owner said his dog didn't bite, and it was not his problem that it got my leggings all dirty and scraped. Obviously. I was on my way to the post office to mail the copy of The Master and Margarita to the new owner when Mr. Janos saw me and struck up a chat. He was painting the fence, which is a part of his duties on our housing estate, and he was attempting to talk to anyone passing by him, which is part of his daily routine. He was limping badly when I asked him about it. He said that these bastards' car hit him as he was going home from work, but we will show them where they belong. I didn't ask who he meant by them and by us. I didn't want to go there. It occurred to me that Mr. Janos must have looked like Jerzy Kanota when he was young. Short, skinny, dark-haired like a gypsy, his Hungarian sound and name would fit the description, but when I asked him about it, he snorted that he's 100% Pole. Lilacs are starting to shed blossom, though they still smell like crazy. I checked the old photos 2 years ago on May 16th. They looked fresher than today, which is 10 days earlier. April was very warm this year. It's probably because of that. Taking the USB stick out every time I put the laptop in sleep mode makes no sense, I guess. It's an old habit I developed back in the day when I was carrying my projects on the stick. Well, not on this one. Between the office and home, I called the computer repair people again. They told me it isn't worth repairing my laptop and I should get a new one. Well, that's a pickle because my budget doesn't allow for such an extravagance. Ministry of Lack of Finance says girls pay a total of PLN 1400 of rent, while water, electricity, and other G&A expenses amount to PLN 900. So that leaves me with PLN 500, which is, I say, for taxes and heating. Batolia and Shutterstock pay me US dollars 400 a month, and I use that money to pay my social insurance and accounting fees. AdSense on my website generates about PLN 1200, so I usually have enough money to survive. a month without risking being hungry. I have a large stash of money I won't touch, and a smaller stash of money, i.e. PLN 7K, that's supposed to pay for my holiday, so I won't touch it as well. And then there's the Terra Incognita Hick stint jobs. Last month was tough, but in March I managed to do some commission work. I earned PLN 5K of take-home pay, and I managed to add something to my portfolio. Maybe that scanning job would do it. Did I mention the low fuel indicator lighted up as I was on my way from the supermarket? You did not. Some bird shat all over the brass house numbers. I cleaned it up. Not squeaky clean, but at least I wiped off these white streaks of bird poop. Number 3 is a bit loose. Number 9 is fixed as it should be. Aga's friend was on here again. 3-9, that looks familiar. Is it up here? Oh, that's 3-4. Aga's friend was here again. I caught them talking in the kitchen. His name is Arek. One word led to another, and soon I found out he works as a gym instructor. I asked him if he worked in the gym Betta told me about. He said he didn't, but he knew the place. There's something off about this guy. One moment he's funny, the other he's scaring me. I remember his type from my childhood holidays in Zelzina. There would be the Village Romeos, styled after Burt Reynolds, checking us out, and the wreck reminds me of them. The difference is, he's less of a macho and more of a hipster with his hair gel, his skinny jeans, and an iPhone in his back pocket. He would constantly wave his phone about so that I would notice it. Finally, I grew tired of wanting for him to drop it on the floor, so I politely asked him about it. "Oh, it's an iPhone special edition," he said, emphasizing the special part. He's really good looking actually, and he works out, so I guess he's quite attractive. But, is it a USB owner a female? No idea. But at the same time, there's something wrong about him. Aga told me she found a new job. Based on the description, I assume she'll be working somewhere around, Weiss, I don't know. She starts in a week. She told me in the secret that Arek is dyslexic and has great problems with spelling. So when they asked him to prepare training plans at the gym, he asked her for help. The day was so boring and empty, I had to go jogging one more time. But I did poorly. Oh, it's time. 35 minutes, 56 seconds. Oh, got you. Why oh why is nothing happening lately? I took a random crime story from Dad's bookshelf. I've never read a story about Inspector Wallander, but I must say it reads quite well. May 8th, 2018, Tuesday. Bleh. This is a scum of a cat. Mrs. Meow peed on the blanket covering the armchair. It's been a long time since she did that. Oh, 8 pages out of 25. I met Iz's acquaintance today. His name is Maciek. I didn't get his last name. He's about our age, quite handsome, and seems okay. And the job is nothing like Isa described it to me. The bad news is he wants me to scan only one album for now. It's a vintage paper photo album with about 1,000 negatives, and it might be really hard to clean because the paper is from the PRL times, and there's a lot of paper dust. The good news is the archive itself is enormous. With tens of thousands of negatives, almost 35mm and 6x6. They've got budget for the whole job and they want to do it. I guess it's better for me to scan this album now than to have no work at all. Seems hard. It's still not quite clear to me who took these photos. I know it was Maciek's uncle of sort. Once again, I am reminded that not being on Facebook makes it really difficult to get in touch with people. I'm thinking about signing up again. The problem is that a job of 1,000 negatives will not buy me a decent laptop. I'll need PLN 2K or more to get the machine with sufficient processing power. I went for a walk through the meadow to stretch my legs. In the spot where mobile plane builders fly their planes, I found a wooden propeller. It was really big, over 50 centimeters in diameter. It must have hit something because there's a deep scratch on the side, but it looks quite rad. I have no idea why I took it and brought it home with me. I left it on the desk, and now I don't know what to do with it. It's cool, but completely useless. I'm guessing this chick's murdered because she doesn't seem like a killer. I don't even know really what the crime scene is. I might have missed it while I was watching the video, but I don't know. I think she was murdered. Browsing through the family photo album, I come across photos signed Hanoi 1959. Grandpa is not in those photos, but I recognize his younger co-worker. I used to see him a lot at my grandparents', and then I learned he was actually Izza's cousin. I'll email these to her. She needs to see them. May 9th, 2018, Wednesday. Ew, thanks for keeping me in bed by noon, Aunt Flo. Not. Yeah, we're definitely a chick. She had a period. When I finally staggered out of bed to do some work, Miss Meow puked on the desk. God dang it, Miss Meow. She somehow missed the negatives, thank God. I did a lot of dusting, but the photos turned out quite good. So the job's not that dirty after all. I started with 35mm negatives. All places are described, and I know some of them. Distarnia, for example, but my memories are blurry, or it looked differently at the time I was there. Photos were taken around 1970. I can tell by the clothes. Most of them are candid shots. A boy with a lady, the boy without the lady without her top on the dunes. It must have been around the time of the first Venus exhibition, but there are also many professional press and street photos. Some taken next to the Fun Fair shooting range, a regular summer holiday at the seaside back in the day. I sent some sample scans to Maciek. Sometimes it's good to have some luck. I finally got my ass to Ursinal to see Zukowski and pick up my books and albums he promised me, but kept on stringing me along for months. He was showing some clients around the company, so he wanted to look good in their eyes. And he was super nice to me. In less than 5 minutes, I had everything I needed from him. He clearly wanted me to scram. He's one sleazy guy. I've noticed an older man on the subway and on the bus several times. It reminded me when some guy in high school would stalk me, and I would watch glimpses of him in the crowd as I was passing through Ursinal. I heard Sinead O'Connor singing "Nothing Compares to You" from one of the blocks. It made me long for these times and those people. Grazina and Wojtek invited me to visit them on Sunday. They've just returned from Thailand, so they might share some useful tips on my holiday plans. It's Tits Day. Tits Day, that sounds awesome. First a few pair in the negatives, and now in the birdhouse. My dad hung in the backyard. Haha, they're working like crazy. This year it's the blue tit. What? And judging by the commotion, there are lots of chicks. Or a lot of chicks. It was supposed to be a stormy evening. Dark clouds came for the third time today. I had to turn on the lights, and it's only 7:30. Not a single drop fell from the sky. I've heard some distant rumbling just now. The soil's dry. Some rain would be greatly appreciated. Izza sent me a copy of Tales of the Bazaar by Olga Tokarczuk. It makes me a bit ashamed that she looks after me like a mother, and I don't know how to thank her. May 10th, 2018, Thursday, 29 minutes and 23 seconds. Special circumstances, or is this 29 hours and 23 minutes? I don't know. Special circumstances embodied by two 10-year-olds. It probably is. It's probably 29, I don't know. Two 10-year-olds blocking the footbridge forced me to change my usual jogging route. I ran a CW circuit instead of the usual CCW. They were gone by the time I got back to the footbridge. What was left of them was writing on the concrete plate, "Rest in peace, youth and innocence." I spent half a day scanning. I'm on a roll. I'd rather not be a good listener. Maybe then people wouldn't dump their problems on me. I called our ex-neighbor, Tojia, because today is her name day. She told me about her grandson when he was born. His mother, Kaska, lived with Tojia, so I used to see her with the prom almost every day. Then she moved out, but I kept on meeting them quite often. Prizamak will be 29 in early June. They are real worried about him. He used to be a cool kid, a bit goofy but never bored. He had 1,000 ideas per minute. I remember my mom saying that he had a lot of potential. By the end of high school, something happened, and they had to work hard to get him through the mature exam. I don't know the details though. I had my own problems back then, and I didn't want to be nosy. Then it looked like he was back on track. He went to university and even graduated with distinction, but it all started to crumble again in 2015. First, he would argue with his parents over them interfering in his life. He would spend his days lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, and then telling everyone that he had important visitors from the embassy. He said he was being spied on. The one time he disappeared for 2 days, then he came back saying that he'd been to New York and talked to some very important people. But he didn't even hold a passport at the time. He put a lock on his bedroom door, still lives at Kaska's flat, so that no one would bother him, and so it goes from one outburst to another. One time it was so bad they had to call an ambulance. The word psychiatrist apparently gets stuck in Tojia's throat, so she just mentioned some doctors from the hospital. She said Prezamek refused his treatment because he's perfectly healthy, perfectly alright, and it's everyone else's fault he's feeling oppressed. His friends turned their back on him. He doesn't go out anymore because no one wants to talk to him. This just makes matters worse. He sees enemies everywhere, and he's the only one to see the truth. He even managed to terrorize his family to an extent that they can do nothing but about the whole situation. He somehow holds them in his grasp. He hides newspapers, turns off the TV off, and allows them to watch only what he deems true. Tojia cried when she told me how Kaska is exhausted by it all. Still no rain, just a distant thunder about around 3 p.m. One single thunder. When the girl came back from work, we sat in the kitchen for a while. Aga brought herself with a knitted wool cap. I liked it very much, so I asked her to show it off, and I snapped a photo with my smartphone. The photo sucks. I did it against the light, and Aga has a witch's nose in it. No idea how it happened. Plus, once Beta and Aga see a camera in my hand, they start acting crazy and hide from it. Beta had her nails done. She had long trimmed short. I can't read. She had them trimmed short and painted with a ridiculous eye fucking color. Eye fucking color stick. My eyes just hurt just looking at them. She spent like 10 minutes or so explaining that cutting them short helps them regenerate because the other girls who did her nails when her favorite Vietnamese girl had a day off, used something that ruined her nails, and now she needs to have them painted with this eye fucking polish, and they need to be so short, and the color is important too if they are to regenerate. So it has to be regenerating. The color, I mean. Ugh. And compared to the lecture she gave us on the advantages of hybrid manicure over artificial nails, or quite the opposite today, this talk was really short. She also talked a lot about how her mom being sick and how she needed to go home and check up on her. That's so better. Producing a stream of consciousness on something completely irrelevant, but failing to answer 3 short questions about her mom. 1. What's going on with her? 2. Is it serious? 3. How long will Betta be staying home with her mom? Betta was born to take people's ears off. True story. I need to record her monologue sometime so others can experience this incredible ride. What's the best about it is that she actually believes every word that comes out of her mouth, and whatever she's heard from someone who sounded convincing enough. And in 2 days, she comes up with another story in which she denies herself. She finally wrapped it up by telling us to see her Vietnamese girl to have our nails done cheap at the Mary Wilska shopping mall. The little cherry on top was her staining her favorite top in folk print with cherry juice. She ran out to the bathroom to try to rescue it. Nice. May 11th, 2018, Friday. This morning surprised me. It was already 20 degrees when I woke up. That's cold. And it's not, 20 degrees Celsius probably. And it's not even mid-May. Or is it? I don't know. Miss Meow sure knows how to interrupt my work. If I'm not busy, she keeps to herself outside of the house and only comes to eat something from time to time. But whenever I'm busy, she tries to be the best helper. And scanning negatives isn't easy with a cat desperately trying to fit on the desk. I clean the scanner all the time, and I still find traces of fur in the scans. I've walked out with her 3 times, asking her to stay in the garden, but she stayed there only the 4th time I did that, and then I had a pretty good streak, God. I just made a quick break for making lunch and laundry. I sent samples to Maciek and he likes them. He's called and asked how I was doing. Beta's devastated that her favorite top didn't survive the vanish treatment. The drought goes on, not even a drop of rain here. Although storms swept through the countryside from the seaside through Lodz to Krakow, and I forgot to water the plants. I was supposed to set the sprinkler for the evening when the sun was going down, but I got so caught up in my work that it's 10 p.m. as I'm writing it, so that's enough for today. You write too much, lady. May 12th, 2018, Saturday. Today I managed to get up with the chickens. It's Ewa's birthday, which we're going to celebrate tomorrow. I texted her birthday wishes a moments ago. I'm still scanning and browsing through the letters in the meantime. Grandpa sure wrote a lot of letters. There's a thick packet tied with a ribbon from each of his contractors' trips abroad. He must have been writing at least twice a week. He wrote about everything, what they were eating, what they were doing, what the work with the local engineers and workers looked like, how he hated the lazy bastards at work, etc. That's funny. In one letter from Egypt, he described a local dish in detail, some kind of bun with meats and vegetables. It must have looked very exotic to someone raised on pork chops with potatoes. Now we have doner kebab stalls on almost every corner. The guy Rek visited Aga again. I heard Betta lock her bedroom door. In the evening, I went to see... Oh, he was the one that probably tried to rape Betta. I went to see Grazina. She and Watchtech told me some stuff about Thailand. We were supposed to be talking about the places to see there. But in the end, we talked about how it's cheaper to live there than in Warsaw, especially from large cities. Renting a room in Fuckit, where they lived for 3 months, would be surprisingly cheap if I rented my whole house. I would have enough money to move there at no extra cost. That's a tempting idea. I know I can't hide from myself, but maybe a fresh start could help. May 13th, 2018, Sunday. Oh my, what a great way to start the day. A robust two-girl quarrel woke me up. I guess those are roommates. Betta stormed out of the house before I got out of my room, and Aga just shrugged and suggested Betta had a screw loose, but she was clearly nervous. I know it was about a wreck, but I don't know the details. I find my grandpa's letter from his contractor trips awfully boring. They are interesting at first. He starts off with introducing people he met. There's something about local food and culture, and then he just keeps on writing. But it's completely uninteresting stuff. I used to do that as well. I would pin down my entire day in my diary to the smallest detail. Who I talked to, what I ate. I paid PLN 3.20 for bread, PLN 2.90 for 0.5 kilograms of tomatoes. One had a spot on it. When I came back to it a few months later, it was unreadable. Grandpa's letters are just like that. I arranged them chronologically, and it turned out there are no letters from his Libya contractor trip. There are thick packets from Vietnam, Pakistan, Egypt, and Iraq. I previously noted there are no photos from Libya, and now it looks like the whole trip is a sort of a black hole. There should be a really massive packet of letters from Libya, maybe even 2 of them. There's not a single letter. I've been thinking about Carl recently, and today I found 2 letters from him, from the early 1990s. He has never sent a letter to us, but it turns out he wrote to Grandma. In both letters, he asked her not to tell us he did. What? Both letters were sent from Germany. The first one from Hamburg, the other from Munich. I can't make a lot out of them, though. He also didn't give his address. Besides, what use would I have of an address from 25 years back? She looks like he didn't expect a reply. The letters are very casual. I'm okay, I have a job, I'm learning German. As if he missed us, but was too ashamed to admit it. I've never understood why he cut ties with us after he had left. I'm sure it wasn't because parents didn't like the idea. The only explanation I can find, apart from the worst knock on wood, is that he somehow failed to make it there, and he was too embarrassed to come back and admit his failure. It would be so like him. I wonder if he knows parents are dead. How sad. I went to the old town by bus to avoid buying gas. I left earlier just in case, and I was there half an hour before time. There were some Falun Dafa people under the Sigismund column. I wonder if this nutcase Wojtek was among them. He used to work in our agency, and he was really into this FD thing. I didn't see him though. Obviously there were tons of people around, so it was hard to take a decent photo with a smartphone. I met Iwa and Durata in the new town. Oh, is that with the Chinese letter thing in the background, probably? In the new town, the same spot we met last time. We officially greeted Iwa on the other side of 40. Now there's 3 of us here. I ordered sour rice soup, served in a loaf of bread, but it sucked really bad. Tasted like instant soup. Iwa was making attempts at matchmaking as usual. She told me about all her nice single friends, who wanted nothing more in life than to date me. Then she went on explaining that I wouldn't stand a chance to meet anyone if I didn't have a Facebook account. In the meantime, Durata would roll her eyes and kick Iwa on the leg under the table. Sometimes Iwa drives me crazy with this stuff, but today it only made me laugh. It got even funnier when she switched to rant mode. Started commenting on her problems with her husband and her lover. It's just how fascinating how she doesn't seem to notice the dissonance between you need a man and men are nothing but trouble. And her business trip story was like straight out of Leopold Tierman's diary. Anyway, the conversation we had made me realize I absolutely feel no need to be in another relationship. And it's not because I had my fingers burned or something. Tadek and I ended our relationship peacefully, like adults, before it started to get toxic. I'm bothered by many things, but not having someone isn't one of them. I feel you. As soon as I came back, I finished scanning the negatives. I found 2 films for Warsaw dating back to Tribuna Ludo Day, and I noticed a Photon Company booth in one of them. I remember a similar photo somewhere in Dad's stash. I'm in it with Mom. It got me thinking that Dad might have known the author of these photos. Dad would host a photography club somewhere in Wola District for many years. Street name slipped my mind. Thanks to his connections with PZO and Photon, Dad was able to equip the darkroom and studio quite decently. So half of Warsaw would come to develop their photos using club equipment. Word has it that Sofia Nasawaska herself printed her photos there. Back in the day, when I worked at the agency, I would be asked by dad-aged reporters to say hi to him. That memory reminded me of Dad's obituary with an error in his age. It said he died at the age of 68, but he was a year older. Mom was really angry about this. I need to buy batteries for Mr. D. What the hell's Mr. D? I finished reading The Tale of the Bazaar. I'm a bit disappointed with it. Tucker's Shuck sure knows her craft, and the stories alone aren't bad. But for me, it would be better if she stuck to the topics she tackled in Primeval and other times. I was more into her version of magical realism than her version of fantasy sci-fi. Maybe for someone who's never been hooked on sci-fi, this book would be cool. But for me, who would challenge Dad to one-on-one sci-fi trivia duels, there was almost nothing new. No fresh vision or ideas. That don't impress me much. That doesn't impress me much. That's a Night Train reference. May 14th, 2018, Monday. 35 hours, 16 minutes, or 35 minutes, 16 seconds, I'm not sure. Hella weird shit. As I was leaving my room, I noticed a note from Betta under the door. The note said she had to run away because she was scared. I called her immediately, but I only heard another stream of consciousness. There was no way to make sense out of it. Should I start looking for another tenant or what? Betta's bedroom is locked. I have no idea whether she took her stuff with her or not. I called Uncle Jarek and asked him about the missing photos and letters from Libya. He was happy to hear from me at first, but when I asked the question, he said that he knew nothing about it and then hurriedly finished the call, saying he wasn't feeling very well. Isa called. They're struggling with finding a photo editor, so the boss asked her to explore the ground to see if I was available and willing to come back. It looks like Mr. Manipulation still fails to understand that my family problems weren't the only reason why I left. Isa knows everything, so she made it clear that she only called me to have a clean conscience, and then she shared some info about the photos. Maciek's uncle, an actual one, as it turns out, used to work as a PAP reporter. I don't know what that means. And shot some private photos at the same time. In 1984, he fled from Poland, but before he did that, he had secured and hidden his entire archive at a friend's place. He was right to do it. The security service would look for these photos relentlessly. They even questioned his family about the photos, but the family didn't know a thing. The location of the photos has been disclosed only recently, and some of them were recovered. The portion I was asked to scan is just a part of the safe and a sentimental badge. Well. A year and a half ago, I lost my camera lens in the studio on Polowaska Street. Disappeared in thin air, just like that. We looked and found nothing. And today, Andrew Sedge called me and said that they had been making some rearrangements in the studio. They moved the sofa next to the makeup stand, and poof, the lens dropped on the floor. It must have slipped down the sofa and got stuck. I've used better camera lenses, but this one had a very special place in my heart. I'll drop by on Thursday, and then I'll take it out to see if it's still operational. When Aga came home from work, I went to talk to her about this Arik guy. Turns out he's not actually her cousin, but a common cousin of theirs brought him up. The story is so twisted. I have a feeling Aga didn't tell me everything, but I didn't snoop around for long because why would I? I told Aga Betta left. She made fun of her as usual. Living off the grid in my own private Visachisadi mountains is quite boring. I spent 2 hours on Duolingo, ironed my top, and packed away the winter clothes. May 15th, 2018, Tuesday. It turns out I know a good scandal when I see one. Dorota lost her cell phone yesterday. I mean, either lost it or someone stole it. Late in the evening, she noticed it was missing. She blocked the device, but by the time someone has already started pulling pranks, some punk sent a photo of a naked boob to all her Gmail contacts, signed a boob selfie. Now Dorota is calling everyone in Warsaw to explain what happened. In her photo, and her husband is trying to take control over other apps she's been using, and to check if any other prank was pulled. In fact, this booby selfie was the first time I opened. Oh gosh. The first time I opened. Was the first item I opened in my mailbox today. Whoever did that has a very limited imagination. Dorota's boobs are a few sizes smaller, but the point is, whoever in their right mind would use no security mechanism on their smartphone. Even Betta's phone is secured, although I've seen her unlock it once, and if I'm right, she's uses one of the dumbest passwords there are. Well, that's just so like Betta. I've come across a new puzzle, but I think at the same time I found a solution of the previous one. I think I know who the woman I saw at Marta's place was. What woman? What? When was Marta's place? Did I miss something? I don't know. I found a pack of letters from Paris sent by Josia. I barely remember her. She was called Aunt Josia, whatever that meant. She even came to our place at Nerodi Street once. In a letter dated 13th October 1979, she wrote, "I hope Willett gets out earlier. I'm really worried about his death. What does she mean by gets out?" And in one of the envelopes from her, I found a page from a notebook saying, "Dear Mr. Engineer, I was very happy to learn that Mr. Engineer was released prematurely. There are some typos in the letter. Looks like the author didn't write much. The handwriting is quite underdeveloped with spelling mistakes. If Mr. Engineer should need anything, please let me know through Joanna. Sincerely, Mitch's the Slawa Dawiak." I'm sorry. Gets out earlier. Released prematurely. Sounds like more like Grandpa was in prison than on a contract into Libya. And Mitch's Zawala is almost certainly Miechia, the one who came to grandparents to clean and cook for them before more important parties. Years later, my parents even asked her if she could take care of Grandma, but Miechia lived in the outer suburbs somewhere far behind Praga district, and she said transit would be problematic, and I think she was the woman I saw behind the fence at Marta's party. What party? I don't remember that, and I couldn't recall where I knew her from. Maybe I should go to Radziemen on the weekend to snoop around. Marta once invited me to come over, so maybe I will. I cleaned the platter squeaky clean. May 16th, 2018, Wednesday. Damn, it's quite a story with those photos from Maciek. He called me and shared some more info on them. It turns out that what Isa told me was only part of the story. Maciek says the archive contains photos from the first months of the martial law, some street riots and events related to Father Papazalusko's funeral or death. Those were the photos that the security service officers were after. They've taken really desperate measures. Someone got arrested on the way. Someone else got beaten. Grim stuff. I felt like I was reading Leaving No Traces again. Maciek's uncle, I asked about him. He was Maciek's mother's stepbrother. First went into hiding and then managed to leave Poland. Somehow I thought he was one of the oppositionist stories about Maciek, but Maciek told me that's not that simple. It could have been about inside affairs within the security service. He didn't share many details. He just said that his family, and I quote, is multidimensionally interesting. While some dimensions aren't to be proud of, and now that his uncle went delusional, he's convinced Poland is still run by communists. So before giving me more negatives to scan, he wanted to check me out first. But it looks like it's enough scanning for now. Maciek apologized for his uncle's silence, but he said that not much can be done about that. Uncle lives in Chicago, and his only source of news about Poland are other Polacks. According to Maciek, when it comes to the anti-communist frenzy and the vision of the legendary Great Poland being constantly under siege from all sides, it's even worse in Chicago than in Greenpoint. His uncle is paranoid to the extent of being afraid that the security service is still dealing the cards here. So once the photos cropped up somewhere, they would intercept them. He laughs at the idea of simply putting the photos in the trunk of a car and taking them abroad. Matiak doesn't know the location of the remaining photos. He suggests that to find the batch I had scanned, he had to follow a trail set up by his uncle. A plant pot on the windowsill, a password here, secret knocking there, mixing with the crowd's loose tale. A detective fiction parody at its best. That's what we're doing. I met Mr. Janas. His leg looked much better. He told me that his boss lady married a Mr. Zweibel with C or Z. I'm not sure. That he is definitely a German, but he better doesn't cheer because we won't let them roam around for long. I guess that was supposed to mean that we'll show them or something. I kept my comment to myself. As I was talking to Aga, Betta called. I was finally able to get some specifics from her. She won't be back today. Tomorrow evening she's going to Pruchnik to see her mom. But she would like me to get her makeup bag from her room. I will meet her in the afternoon on the old railway bridge by the canal and give it to her. I like that spot by the canal. I used to take that route when I rode my bike from the shopping at the Marowiska shopping center. It was a lot faster than going by bus. Betta said the spot is not far from her workplace, which is true, and that it will be safe there because no one will see us. I have no idea why or whom we shouldn't be seen. With her fondness of conspiracy theories, she would make a great discussion partner for Mr. Janus. This girl has pink slime where her brain should be. I just hope it won't rain tomorrow. Forecasts are saying it might. And it finally rained half a day today. I finished reading Maestro. I'm not sure to what extent this book reflects reality. Not that I question Kaczynski's reliability, but it's extremely difficult to keep calm, be professional, and produce an unbiased opinion while writing about things that can be seen and judged differently from a myriad perspectives. And by judging, I don't mean attempts at justifying pedophilia. This is beyond any discussion because a pedophile is a pedophile. True, pedophiles are awful. What I mean is this fine line between creating something good because the choir was very successful, that's beyond doubt, and doing something bad, manipulating people, strengthening one position in opposition to others and seeing them as enemies, and then building a support group around his vision, stating, I am the good guy, they are the bad guys. I can't tell what amount of truth is contained in this narrative, and how much was put there to impress the reader. Either way, the book is a masterpiece. Compared to Wojciech Brawlup, Mr. Manipulation is an amateur. May 17th, 2018, Thursday, 28 hours, 11 minutes, or you know the rest, 28 opposite minutes and seconds. Enjoyable jog today. That's the lightest run I've had lately. Although the time isn't impressive, maybe it's because it's chilly, and it rained last night. Now it's still cloudy, and it drizzles from time to time. It's humid, but it's not so hot. It's not hot, so it doesn't bother me when I jog. I think I should start running the bigger circuit, the one I cover on Mondays. I went to see Andrzej Edge to collect the camera lens. He said he had no job for me, but he would remember about me. Then I came home and made lunch. I've made a nice sauce for the rice, a drizzle of olive oil, onions, bell peppers, some root celery, some frozen green peas, seasonings, and sour cream. After lunch, I took the bike and went to see Betta by the canal and the railway bridge. I was afraid it would start raining because it was still cloudy, but it didn't. In the meantime, it got really warm and so humid it was hard to breathe. And then I got myself into a series of unfortunate events on the tracks. I stepped into an anthill, I got bitten by black flies. Damn, she's getting messed up, son. And I almost fell on the embankment. The shrubs deceived me. They were so high, I assumed the ground was flat. And it turned out it's actually very steep. That sucks. Plus, it's quite a fall from there. Tracks used to pass over the street. I took some photos. Conditions were poor. The sun would come out and hide again. There were some cumulus clouds here and there, so in some photos the clouds are completely overexposed, and in others they are just flat and dull. At least I know the lens is working fine. I need to go there when the light is better, and I'll need to take some 17 and 55 millimeter with me. 50 meter is too long to shoot outdoors. I couldn't fit the entire bridge. Plus, the only photo I took is blurry and distorted, so embarrassing. I'll have to set the time in the camera because it got messed up. Poor thing. So, Betta didn't show up at the agreed spot. I tried calling her, but she didn't pick up, and then I saw Aga coming my way up the railway bridge, and she was really shaken up. She said she had got in some sort of argument with Erek, and that Betta wanted something from her and asked Aga to meet her in the same spot. Whatever Aga was trying to tell me, she did it very chaotically. She was acting so unstable, as if she was Betta. The only thing I managed to make out of Aga's words were that she would probably start looking for an apartment in Ochata district because it takes her too long to commute every day from here. Betta still doesn't answer. I texted her and left a voicemail. I talked to Marta. We'll meet on Saturday. I don't know if I should go by car or take the bus at Route 738. At midnight, I suddenly felt like rewatching Antonio's blow up. I watched it like for the 1000th time. It made me think of sitting with Dad in the darkroom for hours. I almost smelled the scent of photos taken out from the dryer. A mixture of Fixer and fentanyl. May 18th, 2018, Friday. Ever wonder if there's a special place in hells for customers who don't pay on time? Still no money for the scans. Montiac doesn't pick up the phone, but Izza says that he saw it. She's done business with him many times, and he's always paid on time. He's dead, probably. As I was coming home from the store, I think I saw this guy from the subway in the bus. Mr. Janos changed his mind. This Quibble guy is not a German anymore. He's definitely a Jew, but they won't be around for long. Mrs. Schwabel is a real pain in the ass now. She even won't allow Mr. Janos to pee without her permission. I clearly remember Mr. Janos proudly announcing last year that there must be order, and if something needs to be done in our housing estate, it will be done. No time for humming around. This guy is literally taken out of a comedy sketch. He will deny his own words sentence to sentence without even noticing it, and still will be convinced of his rightness. My accountant called and almost gave me a heart attack, and my PESEL number entered in the registry of businesses. She said that they are crossing out whoever doesn't have it registered. I was getting ready to go to the district office when I realized I changed my business address after my parents died. This means I did it in 2015, which is later than 2011. The magical date after which it was impossible to change anything without giving the PESEL number, so I don't have to visit the department office, and I'm free to go to the book fair as planned. Gosh, he reads a lot. I decided to go by car and refuel on the way. Gasoline is at PLN 5 per liter. What a shocker. I met some friends at the book fair, but most of them were busy, so we just said hi, and we went our own ways. There was plenty of good stuff, but I had no money to spend. There were a few photo albums I liked. I wrote them down. Maybe I'll buy them as soon as some cash flows come in. At the Hisakawa Koei book distributor stall, I met Joasia. We hugged, but before we even started talking, Dunio showed up. It was a sad view. From an organizer of cultural activities, Dunio is gradually turning into a forgotten encyclopedia volume. I can't remember the last time I saw him really sober. He's still the likable creature with unbelievable knowledge, a man who has read everything and remembers it all. But he looks as if he slept under a bridge. 10 or 15 years ago, his hobo style had its charm. Now it's just gross. Kakoluska called. She'll be in Warsaw next weekend. She wanted to meet. We talked a bit. She totally surprised me. She said Isa was an evil woman and that she had bullied her. I asked her why she would keep silent all this time. She had always praised Isa, emphasizing how much she had learned from her. Kakalowiska said that He couldn't tell me how it really was back then. They would see each other daily, so Izza would hex her if she had heard her speak the truth. Yep, 2018. Central Europe. A woman with higher education uttered these words. Hex her. The curtain falls. This is really sad. I had no idea she's lost it. Although I remember the girls from the publishing house mentioned something strange was going on with her. A few years back, you could talk to her normally. Although there was always something slimy about her. Still, she was a good coworker, and then her father had a stroke or something like that, and she wanted to help her mother out. So she entered in a contest for some culture-related position in her hometown. She won, even to her own surprise. It was during the shitty fall of 2015 after my parents died and before Grandma died. The Kakalowiska went home and she lost it. She armed her sliminess with overgrown self-confidence, lined with anxiety. She acted like she knew everything best, but she treated every comment, every attempt to get some more info from her as a personal attack. You don't tell me what to do. I was professionally trained to do it. Facepalm. So when she asked me to meet her, I told her I had some family obligations. I specifically told her I had family obligations. She swallowed it like a pelican. So I'm sitting there laughing at the absurdity of the situation. Betta still doesn't return my calls. I'm starting to worry about her. She's a mess. I'll give her that, but her heart is where it should be. I asked Aga about her. Said she doesn't know anything. God damn it. A puddle of water under the washing machine. I spent an hour googling how to clean the filter. I couldn't find the manual. May 19th, 2018. Yikes. I guess I had a little bit too much. My head is killing me. I don't know if it's the alcohol or the recent events or both. It all started yesterday evening with Dorota dropped by from the apartment. But we ended up drinking wine by 1 a.m. Then she called a taxi to take her home. She left her car at my place. I finally told her the whole story. How my parents and grandma died in just 3 months apart. How I was desperately trying to run away from it all. How Isa kept yelling at me in the toilet of some club that if she were to lose her best friend, she'd rather lose her trying to save her than doing nothing. And I kept pushing her away. How I left the company and turned my life upside down. Dorota's eyes grew wider and wider as I spoke. And now I'm wondering if this whole catharsis wasn't my attempt to get this mess in order. On one hand, I feel like I got my shit together and came to terms with some stuff. But on the other hand, I cannot fill the empty spaces. I had trouble getting up today, but I had to go to Radziman to see Marta. I didn't feel like driving, so I went by bus, hydrating myself with water along the way. It's a good thing it was chilly. It was a chilly morning. Hangover and heat would surely kill me. Marta and Marek aren't done with furnishing the house yet. They sleep in the living room, but the kitchen and the restroom downstairs are 100% ready. They sleep in the living room. Oh god, I already read that. They're planning to start paint work upstairs in 2 months, or they're hoping to. At least they are a bit short of cash because Marta lost the contract. Mark is waiting for someone to pay him, and so they had to slow down. There wasn't enough cash to cover both the monthly credit repayment and the construction crew fees. But what they have now is really enough. Even without a separate bedroom and an office, they have more space on the ground floor alone than they had in their 2-room flat at Ponska Street. And I was right. The neighbor is the same Mietja I remember from my childhood. I had to wait a bit for her to come back, and I went to say hi as soon as she came. And a moment later, I got injected with pure concentrate of emotions and information. The kind you apply no more than 2 drops a day, and in case of overdose, you get stomach pumping and the lobotomy. Just a case. Alright, I'll be back. So she didn't recognize me at first, but when I introduced myself and told her I remembered her, she seemed really pleased. She invited me over, introduced me to her children and grandchildren, and the moment I saw her son, I was struck dumb. I could see my dad in his posture and movements, although this man was much taller. Then Mietja offered me a tea and cake, and she wouldn't take my no for an answer. Although I was full after lunch at Marta's, when I finally managed to show Mietja the letter, she spilled the beans. She said that after the accident, the one that sent Mr. Engineer to prison, she was very worried about because the missus would pay her really well. But now that Mr. Engineer was in prison, there was no more work for her. And she was hoping that once Mr. Engineer got out, things would be as they used to. And they were, in a sense, but actually they weren't. After this, and this whole accident wasn't Mr. Engineer's fault, because if someone is strolling down the road after dark, they should look out for cars, and Mr. Engineer would drink a shot from time to time, but he definitely wasn't drunk. Come across my heart and hope to die, the words were flowing out of her mouth, and I just sat there listening. I even didn't have to ask her anything. She served me all the answers on a tray, singing praise of Mr. Engineer from time to time, saying what a terrific man he was. God rest his soul. Amen. She will visit his grave on Sunday. That's her grandpa, right? As I listened to her, I felt like all this time she was talking about some stranger, a story that happened to an entirely different family. Nothing seemed to add up. So there was no trip to Libya? They had been lying to me the whole time? I needed to talk to Uncle Jarek again. But how on earth was Grandpa driving a car if they didn't have one? I'm not even sure he had a driver's license. My dad would drive him everywhere on Fiat 125p. When I came home, which was really late in the evening, Aga showed me a selfie Betta posted on Facebook earlier today. In the post she wrote, she was at her mother's house. She had bare nails again, no more of this fucking pink polish. That's funny. She was wearing this top she said she ruined with bleach, but it didn't look ruined in the selfie. Because it's old, it's an old picture. This is a trap. This is so Betta. An hour later, Betta texted me saying she was at her mom's and that she'll get in touch in a few days. I tried calling her, but she didn't take the call. I remember she once told me their house is in a valley and has poor signal coverage. I think someone else has her phone and that's just set up, but I don't know. May 20th, 2018 Sunday. Either I'm still hungover because she said the password on her phone was weak. Either I'm still hungover from Friday or my memory fails me. I wanted to water the plants in Betta's room. It wasn't locked. I'm pretty sure I locked it on Thursday, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe Betta came to pick up something in the meantime. I don't know. I wasn't at home yesterday or the day before. Danusia invited me over for coffee and continue with the story of her twin brothers. Although they parted ways, it was quite okay at first. But as soon as martial law was declared, they stopped talking to each other. It was like that for many years, and then something started to change. And the one on the left started to drift to the right, and the one on the right started to drift to the left. And when their mother died, they were both at the midpoint at the time, so they were emotionally reunited over her grave. But it wasn't for long. They kept drifting the opposite directions, and today the one that used to be in the Communist Party votes for the conservative PIS party, and the one who used to attend the masses for the fatherland and St. Slaus Koska Church wants to join the leftist regime party. They stopped talking to each other again after the 2007 elections. Now I know why Danusia doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. I was making myself some supper when I saw a car pull up at my house. Eric brought Aga something from her parents. They came to the kitchen, talked for a while, and then the conversation somehow drifted to cell phones, computers, and passwords. How they are hard to remember. It turned out Aga and I have a similar system in which starting letters are the key. The major difference is that I use longer text. I know by heart or have it at hand as a source text, whereas Aga comes up with random combinations of facts about her family and friends, known only to her. So, following her system, my phrase could be, Dad's birthday is date month. Grandpa died when he was XX. Aga is from Kwasoka, and Betta is from X. It's confusing. So these are probably a hint at the zip pass files. We couldn't recall the name of Betta's village. Of course, Aga's system is even better because the way the password contains both upper and that's annoying, and lowercase letters, digits, and punctuation marks with no spaces. I told them the story of Dorota and the hoax with sending emails from her account on her phone. Eric kept giggling and winking at Aga, saying that it's good to know such things happen. But he sounded like he wasn't aware that the stolen phone can be easily blocked remotely, and it can be checked where it was used. Anyway, when I told him about a guy who was convicted and found guilty of setting his house on fire and killing his family based on mobile phone forensics, Eric's face twitched slightly. Eric's a freaking monster, boy. He's probably the murderer, and he probably stole her phone. It was a good example showing that there was something wrong with him. At first glance, he seems like a bright guy, but he has huge gaps in knowledge and has problems connecting the dots. When you point a finger to show him something, he gets it, but without the finger, he is lost. I'm pretty sure he must have done some things. Maybe he stole some phone, and that's why his face fell when I told him the story. Yeah, he stole Betta's phone, son. That was quite a Sunday. The highlights of the day featured talking to a village playboy and a retired neighbor. Wow. But there are places where even such fine companionship is a rarity. I dream of escaping more and more with each passing day. May 21st, 2018, Monday, 34:15. One of the neighbors decided to start drilling almost with dawn. I was woken by a sound of pneumatic drilling breaking concrete. I went jogging and the whole house was still shaking when I came back. Not that I have something important to do, but I can't even focus on reading. I got an email from Betta. She attached a photo. It was actually sent yesterday. I almost missed it because she usually sends messages from her Interia account, but this time she used the O2 account, and I didn't even recognize it was from her because it wasn't. The message was full of typing mistakes. I know she's always written chaotically, but I can't remember her doing so many typos. Betta asked me about the flower in the photo, but I couldn't recognize it at first, so I downloaded the photo to the laptop and searched for the flower in the guidebook. I helped producing the book after all, so now it's turn to help me. But by the time I sat on the bed and the laptop and the guidebook, a light bulb went over my head. I just had to look it up to make sure I was right. I was indeed. It was yellow alfalfa. God looked down from the heavens and said, "I hate you, alfalfa." I tried to call her again. She didn't answer, so I emailed her back. Young tits have flown out of the birdhouse. Usually I wouldn't notice, but Miss Meow came home unusually excited, and she was holding something squeaking between her teeth. It was a chick. Oh, I know that chick. He's cute. He's got a weird mouth. It has already fledged, but the parents will still feed it. So I took the poor pile of feathers and carried it outside. It looks okay. I hope it stays that way. Next to the garage door, I saw another chick. It was sitting on concrete, napping ostentatiously and ignoring the world around it. I took the camera and the 10mm lens and took some photos. When I was back outside half an hour later, they were gone. They either moved somewhere else or one of the neighbor's cats found them. As I've been working on the computer, I didn't see the parents bringing food to the birdhouse. It's empty now. The photos came out dark. I think I will have to send the camera in for service because it looks like it's underexposing the pictures. Lightroom set it to auto mode. Remove to stop again. I still don't feel ready to start taking photos with Dad's camera. I keep shooting with my 7D. I'm used to using Dad's lenses, but it's because I've always done that. He would use mine, I would use his. It didn't feel strange, but this is different. In the afternoon, I went to see Uncle Jarek. He's grown much older since I saw him. Sometime after Grandma's funeral, just trustful as usual, it took him about 2 minutes to open the column of locks on the door to let me in. I've probably already written it down, but he once told Mom that once he dies, she would have to unscrew the oven because there are some gold rings hidden behind it. The lady called Jola lives with him again. It must be like the third time. The relationship between these two has always been a mystery to me. The house is clean. Jola has always been very thorough. I'll have to give her that. But a faint smell of urine and old age lingers in there. We had tea. Uncle's house is probably the last place I know where tea is served to guests in thin tea glasses, but inside metal glass holders. We also had a delicious cake Jola had baked. I told them about the photos found in the garage, the letters, and the conversation I had with Miecha. For some reason, Uncle Jarek suddenly felt worse, and it grew even older in a single moment. Jola offered him some meds, but he wouldn't take them. When he finally got a hold of himself, he said Grandpa killed someone in a drunk driving accident. He was driving through the forest at night, in the rain, down a winding road. someone was walking down the side of the road. He would probably have been put on probation if he had not drunk that night. But he had 1 promille of alcohol in his blood. The family decided they wouldn't tell me about it. The plan worked until today, but Grandpa didn't have a car. No, he didn't. He was driving your dad. Fiat 125P. I was sitting there all pale and sweaty. I must have looked no better than Uncle Jarek. When I was leaving, Joel almost shouted at me for upsetting Uncle. She was probably right to do so. I must have looked like a stray dog or something because she immediately started apologizing and even gave me some more cake to go. Now that I think of it, Grandma must have thrown away all Grandpa's letters from prison so that I would never see them. She knew she wouldn't be there for long, but she had time to put all those papers in order. She even changed the locks because she wasn't sure all the spare keys she once had given to her friends were used or returned to her. If she had time to manage such pretty stuff, she must have had time to manage the letters. I have just realized that both Uncle Jarek and Jola were acting strange when Uncle was telling the story. I thought it was because Uncle was feeling unwell, but could it be something else? Uncle Jarek was avoiding eye contact with me all the time. Actually, he wasn't looking at any of us, and Jola was looking closely at him as he was speaking, as if she was curious that he would tell me. I might be wrong, though I was and still am pretty shaken up. Poor kitty. It's the end of my home in cat heaven. Miss Meows yowling woke me up early in the morning. She was lying there, unable to get up. Her hind legs were paralyzed. She was clearly panicking. Oh, this is terrible. She tried to bite and scratch me as I tried to pick her up. Finally, I somehow managed to get her inside the carrier. I was terrified. Everything was slipping out of my hands. I took the car out of the garage and went to the vet. I scratched the fender as I was driving up the garage. I spent half a day to the vet's office, injections, x-rays. Finally, the vet said it's most probably a thrombus, and that there's nothing he can do apart from putting her to sleep. Miss Meow's gone, and I'm crying like a baby. Oh, that's freaking tragic, dog. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Either way, I should start looking for my passport to check if it's still valid. As I was on my way to buy some bread, I saw this creep again. This time, he was standing by the store, talking to a guy from our estate, more or less his age. The neighbor is a pretty self-confident, pretty lively for a 70-year-old man. I usually see him carrying a wrist bag. I don't know why, but whenever I see a man like this, I always think of them as some ex-security officer or an ex-cop. I had a long talk with my accountant. It can be done, but she needs to think it over. What were we trying to do? Oh, passport. Oh, I moved the diary from the USB stick to the PC, and I tidied up the mess in the photos. I even moved something back onto the stick, but then Isa called, and once we were done, I decided it wasn't worth the hassle. The limitations of copying and moving stuff are so inconvenient. For the last 2 days, I've been trying to remember who had played the guitar whose neck hangs on the wall in Betta's room. I remember the story. The neck wasn't broken on stage, as it would sometimes happen in the Western countries, because Polishes couldn't afford breaking their guitars. Who used to do that? I think it was The Who, actually. I think they're British. Are they American? I don't know. The Who's probably American. I don't know. But I know they broke their guitars and stuff. Dad was taking photos during some big bit concert, and after it was over, the guitar was standing there propped against the wall, and a pile of sloppily arranged benches came crashing down on it. That is all I can remember, but for the love of me, I can't recall the name of the band or the guitar player, and it wasn't some random musician. It was a name that sounded loud and proud in Polish music industry for years. Damn it, my leaky memory turned a piece of history into a piece of wood. Jacek, I don't know. Jacek advised me not to buy a new laptop, but a post-release Lenovo. He said they're unbreakable. I googled them, but the ones I can afford aren't enough for me. Their resolutions are too low, so I guess in the end I will have to use the holiday money. It should still be enough. I don't need a huge backup cache. Okay, now this is fucking huge and I'm trembling. I've never been overly emotional, so oh my gods, Mother Mary's, etc., but oh my fucking god. I think I'm going to ask Aga for a cigarette. I had a smoke, but I still had a knot inside me. So Jola called me about 11 a.m. I got worried something happened to Uncle Jarek, but she said he was okay. She said she wanted to meet up and tell me something really important. We agreed to meet 1 p.m. at Arcadia Shopping Mall. I'd rather meet somewhere nearer, but Jola had some errands to run there. I got there a bit earlier. I stopped by Interspot. I need to buy new jogging leggings, but PLN 90 is definitely more than I want to spend. Maybe I'll find something cheaper in the Decathlon? But it's all irrelevant. So we sat down to have some coffee and a piece of cake each. I paid PLN 60, there's another hole in my budget, and then Jola told me the details she wanted to share. Turns out it was Dad, not Grandpa, who was driving the car. They were both in the car, and they had both been drinking earlier that night. Grandpa was growing tired of his contractor trips. He was already past his first heart attack. Alright, I'll be right back. That's sad. Alright, he was already past his first heart attack, a mild one, but Dad had his whole career ahead of him. He was almost sure to get an international scholarship, so when the accident happened, Grandpa decided he would take the blame. He didn't think he would go to prison, though, but still he claimed to have caused the accident, even after he had been convicted. I thought you had the right to know, Jola said afterwards. I was stunned. I realized that many things I had been told in my life were untrue, and there were also things I didn't know. They were hidden from me. Suddenly something clicked into place in my head, and I asked her if she knew Mietcha's son. Looked a lot like my dad. She burst out laughing. He's not the only one, my dear. She said that 2 days before the heart attack that killed him, Grandpa was caught in the act by Grandma with a 20-year-old. Like, where in Zelazina? Oh yes, your grandmother was so mad at him that she went to Warsaw, leaving him behind. But I was there at the time. Sorry, I didn't know that. Wow, this is one emotional roller coaster. When it comes to the accident, the real turn of events would actually explain a lot of things. Mom reacting to Dad drinking, Mom disliking going by car, parties featuring alcohol. Dad almost never drank alcohol, and I've never seen him drunk. Yes, he would have a few shots on special occasions and get overly friendly and chatty sometimes, but that was all. Mom's reacting almost hysterically to Dad having an accident shortly before my Matura's exam, and then Mom's reluctance to buying a new car. And on the other hand, I always had a feeling Jola never liked my dad, and as I was listening to her today, there was a hint of satisfaction in her voice. She seemed to enjoy exposing him before me, to an extent that several times I was wondering if maybe she was making some stuff up, or just to make me feel even worse, and to have her revenge for things I wasn't even aware of. Or maybe she enjoyed making me feel like crap just out of pure bitchiness. And when it comes to Grandpa, Jola really didn't know I was there at the time. For her, it was the story of adults, so I wasn't even in the picture. It makes me so sad to think that all my life I was sure it was all my fault that Grandma got so mad because we went to the reservoir, although she specifically told us not to. And that Grandma got mad at us too, and all this led to the heart attack. And then, but really, he was well over 60. He and a 20-year-old? I had another look at the photos. Well, he did look great, slender, tall, handsome, his face framed with an impressive mane of gray hair. He looked like $1 million, and he had an aura of authority around him. But with a 20-year-old? Betta still doesn't answer the phone. I don't know if I'll be able to fall asleep tonight. Well, of course I'm awake. Stupid thought. Grandma gave birth to Dad when she was 20. Grandpa was 8 years older than her. But it seems he was fond of 20-year-olds till the very end. Mietcha seems to be an exception though. She must have been around 30. It's 3 a.m. I managed to connect some dots in my head. Eric has my grandpa's voice. He's Aga's age. Aga's from Kwaska. That's within a stone's throw from Stelzina. Oh damn. So they're kind of related. Weird. Aga lives at my place because our common cousin, one we used to visit, recommended her. Eric must be somewhere from around the area. He's not the only one, Jola said. The memorable summer holiday in Selazina were in July 1984. When exactly was Eric born? May 24th, 2018, Thursday, 20 hours, 27:48. News from Izza. Maciek went to Italy, but something happened there, and he's in the hospital now. They had to operate on him. Operate him. Had to operate him? Operate on him. He got hold of his phone only after a few days. His wife was pretty cut up about it and also required medical attention. So my money is not important to them at the moment, which is understandable. I get it, I feel sorry for them, but I could really use that cash. As since money flew in on Tuesday, so my account is not empty. But after the whole Miss Meow vet intervention, the only thing keeping me afloat is my credit card, and I will have to pay it off one day. One of Isa's friends is looking for a house or an apartment to rent, preferably starting from August, and she likes my area. Okay, so either one of us forgot to lock the door, or someone was trying to force it open. I went to the post office. Friends is looking for an apartment. To the post office to buy some bread, and when I came back, only the Gerda lock was still locked. The bottom lock was open. Pietrusha called. We failed to have a decent chat at the book fair. He was on his way home to the meeting, and now he called to talk. We rattled on for an hour as usual. It was really great to hear him. We talked about our old friends. Sikorki are getting divorced. I had no idea. Anka Bilawaska is a grandma now. I'm pretty sure she's not even 40 yet. Then we switched to books. So I listened, and Pietrusha talked before he can talk about, because he can talk for hours about literature. From the stream of the Booker Prize was the best thing that could happen to Tucker's because this year there will be no Nobel Prize, so she won't get it. 2. He had recently read a novel, I forgot the title, in which the protagonist, over a dozen years older than us, named the writers and philosophers who influenced him. And Pietrusha literally knew one name from the list. Now I'm wondering, if I were to make an honest list of writers who influenced me 30 years ago, would it be as abstract to Zoomers as this man's list was to Pietrusha? Honest meaning without putting safe bets that stay with me on the bookshelf and pretending I knew them all along. As usual, we agreed to meet as soon as all the shit quiets down. Well, perhaps his shit is not quiet. Mine is definitely quiet as shit. In the evening, I smelled pot smoke coming from, not the marijuana, from one of houses. It was pretty intense. Must have been a good party. May 25th, 2018, Friday. Every nightmare drains energy out of me. I woke up soaked in sweat. Mrs. Meow's terrible wailing woke me up, just like it did on Tuesday. I needed a moment to realize it was just a bad dream. While dusting the bookshelf, I found Tierman's diary, 1954. I opened it on a random page and landed on Mrs. Nuna's parties. I need to show it to Iwa. How am I supposed to save money when a newsletter tells me to buy How I Stopped Living Design by Marcin Wicha for only PLN $12.50? In 2 weeks I could help with the photo shoot. The studio is already well booked. Well, I don't know. Betta's mother called just now. She asked me if I knew where Betta was because she couldn't reach her. Now I know where Betta got the tendency for nurses to talk from. Her mom babbled for 5 minutes, but I couldn't make sense of it. Well, you know that Betta's supposed to be with her mom, so the fact that she hasn't seen her tells you someone has her phone, dude. We're screwed. I confronted Aga. Eric was born April 1985, out of wedlock. That's an important date. Where can I write this? April 1985. Eric's birthday. April 1985. Sick. Count to 10, inhale, exhale, move along, nothing to see here. Nothing, huh? I'm shaken up again. This is all just fucking insane. I remember Aga mentioned something about the story of his life, but today she told me more. When it turned out Eric's mother was pregnant, her family kicked her out of the house. After a few years, she killed herself. Her parents took Eric in, but actually he bounced around from one family member to another, a bastard, orphan, unwanted child. For all that he's been through, he seems to have turned out quite okay. I asked Aga if she knew anything about Betta. I told her she wouldn't answer my calls, and after her mom called me, I couldn't make anything out of it. Aga said she knew nothing. Oh, and she's moving out, so probably I'll end up alone, unless Betta shows up, so it's officially a financial disaster. The small disasters can sometimes solve problems. My passport is valid until May 2022. I need to write that down. I'm good. Passport. Passport expires May 2022. So I'm good. I overheard Aga talking to Eric on the phone. I heard her say she was asking questions about you. Well, I sure did. Alright, we're so screwed. May 26, 2018, Saturday. Running out of words, it's unbelievable Zukowski could be such a slime bag. I talked to Izza. She told me about the comic book she mentioned earlier. Some guy drew it all by himself, based on his grandfather's memoirs or something. Powell decided to cash out to have it printed. Zukowski was supposed to help with publishing and promotion. Everything was ready to go, just some finishing touches left. And just a few days ago, Zukowski backed out, saying he's not going to be a part of the project. Obviously, he wouldn't say why, and was bullshitting them, but girls from the publishing house told Izza in great secret what it was about. Apparently, the comic book is trash because it features piles of dead bodies, ruins, and the smell of failure. While everyone knows the Warsaw Uprising was glorious and heroic, recently Zukowski won a grant from the Ministry of Culture and Natural Heritage, and he's supposed to help them publishing some books presenting the correct view of history. So he thought that publishing this comic book reeking of defeat and corpses would be bad press, so he decided to withdraw, not to annoy anyone at the ministry and risk losing the money. And this is the same guy who would print leaflets and posters for the Freedom Union 20 years ago, a true Democrat, my ass. I actually called Izza to ask about her friend, who was interested in renting a room in my home, and I ended up telling her too much. She said she would handle my affairs, if necessary. I didn't know what to say. I don't deserve a friend like Izza. A huge rainstorm came in the morning. I forgot to check the windows in Betta's bedroom, and there was some water in the windowsill. It must have rained sideways because the windows were in the airing position. Her stuff is still there. I don't know if she plans on living here or what. I still no sign of life from her. I suddenly realized that I probably wouldn't be living here if it weren't for Miss Meow. When Mom died, I moved to my parents' house because I didn't want to force the cat, used to spending her days outside, to live in a bedsit on the 6th floor, but it was supposed to be a temporary solution. It'll be 3 years in fall, so much for temporality of the solution. The rest of the days was cloudy and stormy. It rained several times with some distant thunders. I swallowed Witch's book in one evening. The second part was slightly worse, but the beginning is just fantastic. Although it was written in early 2015, it's still valid now. It might be about graphics and design. I agree with most of his opinions, but at the same time, the essays serve as a very bitter and spot-on commentary on our current reality and the direction Poland has been drifting towards since the last election. Pretty striking. May 27, 2018, Sunday. Splitting headache in the morning. Somehow I managed to get out of bed. Maybe I'll have a bike ride in the afternoon. At least that's what I told Aga when she asked me if I was going to be home the whole day. There was a loud scene around noon at the neighbors living on the other side of the ditch. They somehow kept to themselves for some time now, but today it was like the field in which they were growing their fucks exploded. The line I liked the most was the man's, "I fucking bought you drugs and you didn't even make fucking soup for me." Yup, no specifics, no pot, no coke. He said drugs. The woman kept relatively quiet. Usually I would hear her through closed windows. Maybe she was intoxicated after all. I remembered the smell of pot from Thursday, but I think it came from our side of the ditch. Children were playing with a beach ball on the street. It popped, and now they were pretending to throw it, waving their arms slowly wide open and closing them to catch it. Lilacs are long gone now. It's time for jasmine. I could smell around the house. I saw a sail swallowtail that used to be a rare view in Poland. I remember being proud of myself when I took the photo of one back in 2011 in southern Croatia, and in the last 2 or 3 years I've seen them here as well. Too bad this one had only one hind wing. A stupid thought. During one of Isa's dad's birthday party, someone explained what a Heisenberg train is. You know its exact speed, but you don't know if its position on the track's Heisenberg's beta. Is she there, or isn't she here, or maybe there? Maybe the whole reset thing is a stupid idea. Aga asked me if I could pick up something from her Mary Wilska from Betta's Vietnamese girl while I'm on the bike. Sure, I can go there. I suppose it's a good direction as any other. The law of seriality. Seriality? I haven't been on the railway bridge for 2 years, and now I will be there for the second time this month. I'll just have to climb the staircase with the bike. It'll be like cross-country biking, which is where we found the USB. God dang. Alright, I'm gonna take a break because it took me forever to read that, and I gotta like refocus because somewhere in here is gonna be some passwords, I'm sure, for that file. Hopefully there's some other files that like hint at what I should be looking for in here. I actually really like the story. It's like really gripping. I kind of care about the characters. Pretty interesting. I enjoyed it, even though it was super long. My God, it was long. But yeah. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright guys, so now we gotta start looking for the passwords. This is gonna be the hardest, most difficult, god dang part. Alright guys, I'm gonna include this part just so you guys know what I messaged the creator before he sent me like a hint back and helped me figure out the first file. Really cool game. I enjoyed the diary a ton. It was pretty interesting throughout, but I think this is out of my skill capacity. Tried to use some of the formatting for passwords mentioned in the diary, but I had zero luck with progressing at all. I'm not sure if that's a spoiler, so I'll put it here. Definite possible spoilers after this point, but I'm just guessing. So that's a warning to you guys as well. I'm going to spoil what I think about the story. I think Eric and Aga are most definitely killing people. I believe they got a hold of Betta's phone, judging by Eric's reaction when he's talking and how phones can be traced to link people to crimes. The fact that Betta went missing and was responding in an uncharacteristic way for her, the typos, the main character not considering that something bad had happened to Betta was kind of strange, definitely considering Betta's reaction to Eric before she went missing, and the story of the man that could have been Eric trying to rape her. Aga seemed to be in on it since she was the one who told her to take the bridge to meet her, which at the end of the story, and that's where we also find the USB, not the phone. I don't know why I put that. It was like 3 in the morning. Just my thoughts after reading the diary without being able to progress further. Another thing that was strange is that the zip files are dated for the day of disappearance. So I also consider the possibility that Aga might have encrypted them since her password process goes into detail as well. There's not enough information on what Aga knew, and the phrasing of her password seems like it could be really complex and the typing of it to be the actual passwords of the file. It seems that our protagonist did encrypt them the day of, so she must have been suspicious something may have happened. But her saying the key is the starting letter of the text that she has a hold of and knows really well just confuses me. I thought that was like the books with the Wizard of Oz and whatnot, but I couldn't figure it out. I know there's the Wizard of Oz, Lord Jim, and others in her book folder, but I have no idea what to take from them after opening them in Calibrate, which is one of the programs that he has in the folder, which I don't know if you need to use or not. This is his response to me, so if you don't want any spoilers or hints on how to figure it out, this might be a good place to start the video, because I'm also going to put the password to file 1 right after it. Fluffy Panda, the idea was to make the game entertaining on several levels. You wrote you enjoyed the story, so I assume you don't feel like you're wasting your time, which I didn't. I enjoyed the story a good bit. 2, getting the story right is the first level, and you got it right. There's more to it though. 3, zip files are kind of meta commentary. They are not directly related to the story and events depicted. This becomes obvious once you open the first zip, which is true. Opening the file 1 zip doesn't even require reading the diary. First password is really trivial. It is hinted on May 15th, and not only there. I think the hint here was that the password was really simple, which it is. It really is, and I missed it forever. Second password is the one requiring formatting mentioned in the diary. Yes, you will need to carefully read the story to get it right, and I didn't get that even though I read the crap out of the story. I have no idea. I'm just not that great at these kind of games. I need like a more strict guideline kind of thing to figure stuff out. I can't just look through a massive text and figure out what it could even possibly be. My imagination starts running and I can't get it. Apparently, I need to do another small change to the text. Too many people are misguided by one of the statements. The change will be from I use longer text I know by heart or have at hand as a source text. Something like I use longer text I know by heart or work on as the source text. I just have to consult the translator as I don't trust my English. Note, this matters mostly for the third password. And basically the zip files don't all have to do something with the story. Some of them have to do with just things that are in the game file. Like file 1 is 12345, which is actually, I'm so dumb, bro. So file 12345. So that's, yeah. So it'll be 12345, supposedly. Okay. The USB stick found in the grass. Idea, design, photos, story development. Marcin Borkowski, English version Caroline Piwowursk, and Marcin Borkowski. Is there anything else in here? Marius notepad. What you got for me? Put a dot at the start of the second password. Okay. Put a dot at the start of the second password. And what he said about the second password is one requiring formatting mentioned in the diary. Yes, you will need to carefully read the story to get it right. This is the hard part. I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. Oh, I closed on accident. Crap. But yeah, guys, that's as far as I got. So hopefully somebody will beat this and eventually I can see the full game as well, because this is so hard, dude. I know there's like tons of people trying to crack like the secret achievement left on red. There's like a 70-page discussion going through algorithms and whatnot. So hopefully the community will take as much interest in this and figuring it out, because I'm sure it's a lot more doable. I think the left on red dude's just like, I think he's just a dick, and there's actually no achievement, and he just says there is, so people keep looking at it, but I don't think there is at all. But maybe there is. But after 80 pages, probably now, people looking at it, I think they should give up. But I hope someone solves this, because I'd love to see the full game. But yeah, thanks for watching as always, guys. Bye!